Well, good morning. I'm just heading down to the Midlands now. I'm down to, well, I said the Midlands, it's around Wolverhampton, to a venue I've never fished before. I'm heading down here. It's 6:10 in the morning. I'm just heading down to do a coaching day with someone, and I've just had two messages on my phone from you guys, one last night and one this morning, believe it or not. Both questions have been about ground baits. Now, I was at an open day yesterday, and I got asked the same question, and it was about freezing ground baits. Do I ever do it? Obviously from a financial point of view and a common sense point of view, if you can make ground bait last longer, and if you've got any left over at the end of a session, then quite rightly, I think it's a good idea to try and save it if you can. Unfortunately, what I have found over the last few years is that it never really keeps very well. I did it for quite a while, and I still do it now, but basically I don't freeze ground bait or keep it in the fridge for a match in future, basically, because I like my ground bait to be exactly how it is when it comes out of the bag, when I mix it, when it's fresh. The reason for that is because a couple of times when I was going through a really good spell at Boston and Larford through the winter, when I used to go there in the winter, I used to do really well. I used to use fish meal ground baits, and I used to mix it the night before. And quite rightly, a lot of people think, well, there's no harm in that, it's going to make it nice and inert. And what I used to do is mix it the night before. Obviously not a lot, because I was only fishing with little cage feeders, only probably 2 pints. And I used to put it in a bag, try and get all the air out of the bag, seal it, tie it, and then put it in the fridge overnight. And I've got to openly admit that 99% of the time that was fine. Obviously in winter it's a lot cooler anyway overnight, but it was in the fridge as well, and that was fine, and I had some great results doing that. However, on a couple of occasions I got to the bank, and when I've opened the ground bait the next day, it smelt off, and once that kind of plants a seed in your head that it's off, then that can affect your fishing, it can affect your confidence. We know that a lot of ground baits and the use of ground baits, the majority of time, in my opinion, it's down to your confidence. You've got to have confidence in the mix that you're using, whatever it might be. Everybody's got their own favourites, and that put me off that day. And I literally, I fished and I didn't quite do so well for whatever reason, so I never took the chance again. Because let's be fair, to mix 2 pints of ground bait when you get to your peg, it takes a couple of minutes. That's all it takes. The initial mixing of it can literally only take a minute or two, and then obviously you leave it for 15-20 minutes, half an hour, and then go back to it. You might have to add some more water to it, and then you put it through a sieve, and then you're ready to go. So the actual time that it takes you to do that, for me, far outweighs taking the chance, mixing it the night before to save 5 minutes, and having a little bit of your confidence taken away. So having said all that, that was fish meal ground baits, and what I've done is I've actually done the same in summer, and I've tried keeping fish meal ground baits. When you mix it for a session, for example, say you're going away for a couple of days and you've got some left over, if you save it for the next day, sometimes you might notice that you might have done it yourself. If you don't put it in the fridge or anything, just leave it sealed in a bag with the air taken out of the bag. Just put it somewhere nice and cool or whatever. Sometimes I've gone to it the next day and it's actually warm. I don't know if you've ever done it, but the ground bait actually gets warm, and that's because it started that kind of forgive me, I'm not a biologist in any way, but it started that breakdown process. It started to go mouldy, and that's what happens if you left that for a couple more days. Then it would be even warmer. The actual ground bait gets warmer, and that's just the start of the kind of going off period. So that's why I don't do it anymore. But having said that, cereal mixes you can save till the following day. So when we go to Ireland, for example, we used to, the first couple of years that we went in the world pairs, if you got some ground bait mixed over from one day, you could actually use that the following day. Just put it in a bag, take the air out, and just keep it somewhere nice and cool, and it would be alright. And that's because it was a cereal mix, and that does last a little bit longer. And if you put cereal mixes in the freezer and freeze it, and then obviously thaw it out for your next session, it can be just about alright. But like I say, I don't do that anymore. I'd just rather not take the chance, because once that plants the seed of doubt in your mind that it's not quite right, that because it does smell off. And for me, I'm not saying that smell puts the fish off in any way, but what I'm saying is it knocks my confidence, because I want that ground bait to be exactly how it is when it comes out of the bag. and it's fresh and it smells exactly the way that the designers of that ground bait, the producers, have intended it to be. So I hope that just gives you a bit of an insight into my experiences regards freezing ground bait. But like I say, the whole key to that question really is not wanting to waste ground bait. You know, if you can mix just enough for each session, then you're not going to be wasting it, so that when you do use it and mix it again, it is going to be fresh and in its best condition. So like I said, the biggest thing I can say to you about that is just try and measure your ground bait out. A lot of people don't do it. Just measure it out, you know, and in time you'll get to know how much sort of ground bait you're going to be using on that sort of a session. Like me, for example, when I go to Southfield in the springtime, I knew that 2 pints was plenty, absolute plenty, and that was all right, because there's there are 3 pints in one of the bags of ground bait that I was using, which was the Ringer's Dark. I measured them out. It only took 5 minutes at home one night, just measured it out. I know there's exactly 3 pints in there. Okay, so you get to know that sort of thing by doing it, and by doing that at the end of each session, even when I drew on a pile of bream on the last day, I still didn't use 2 pints of ground bait, so I knew that that was enough, so I just wasn't wasting it. So the rest of the bag stays nice and fresh, ready for when I use it at the next session.